This is our exclusive OTB Sports UEFA Champions League final preview show in association with Pepsi Max. They're proud sponsors of the UEFA Champions League. Maximum taste, no sugar. You can use the hashtag for the love of it. I am joined by Teddy Sheringham and Shaun Wright-Phillips, and also now by Republic of Ireland international Denise O'Sullivan. Evening, Denise.
Hiya, how you doing?
I'm very well. We're going to look ahead to the Champions League final. It is Chelsea against Manchester City. We have a jersey signed by Jadon Sancho up for grabs for the best questions. So I'm going to throw some of them at you through the night. And Sean Martin, I think, has got straight to the point that myself, Denise and Teddy all want to know, which is, Sean, which team are you supporting on Saturday night?
Man City, man.
What about that Premier League winners medal you have from your time at Chelsea?
You know what? It's a club that's dear to my heart. I was with them through 16. They kind of set the path out for me, if you could say, and in a way made me the person I am now, that I was on the pitch and off the pitch. So for me, Man City is my team, but I've always got love for Chelsea.
Plus
Chelsea's won it already, so it's City's turn now.
Fair enough, fair enough. You were there, obviously, say a decade or so ago when the group that brought this team forward was first emerging, when they signed Yaya Toure and David Silva and Vincent Kompany. At that stage, was it been spoken around the club that actually the final destination for us is we want to be European champions? Were they that explicit about their ambitions?
No, I wouldn't say they was that explicit. The thing that stood out to me, especially when they took over, is the longevity and the long-term project they spoke about and how they went about it. They never, as much as they spent a lot of money, they never went out and, in a way, paid over odds for people. They bought players that, I wouldn't say people didn't hear, but like David Silva, for example, he wasn't really spoken about as we speak about him now. People knew about it, but they didn't know he was as good as he is. And I felt at the time they built their team well. I myself have been in teams where they have money and they just buy players. But they bought players at that time that fitted and suited the City model. And since then, it's just grown from one strength to another.
Denise, as a midfielder, this must be a match that you're really looking forward to because there's so many outstanding players going to be on show, particularly on that City side. De Bruyne is the one that everybody focuses on, but Gundogan, his run of form was probably the key to them actually winning the league this season. And then you throw in what Riyad Mahrez has done, the form of Phil Foden, the talent that Pep Guardiola has at his disposal. Trying to pick that team and who you're going to leave out is probably the biggest difficulty for him.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch it. There's so many exciting players. De Bruyne has been excellent this season. His ability to penetrate on the dribble, his crossing ability, he's really exciting. So I'm excited to watch, but I think Man City is who I'm going for. Their confidence is high now going into this. Confidence is very high after winning the Premier League, so I'm very excited to watch. It's going to be a good game.
Yeah. Sean, what do you think Pep is going to do on Saturday night in terms of his team selection? Are we looking at a scenario where Raheem Sterling doesn't start in the Champions League final?
I don't know. I don't think anybody ever knows what Pep's going to do. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about him. He always seems to come up with an idea or a solution of how to tackle a situation that may be causing City a problem. And if you see what he did at the beginning of the season where it wasn't working for him, instead of changing the system, all he did is change the way a fullback played, which was Cancelo, and moved him into midfield and played with a false nine. But effectively, City still play the same way with the cute passing but they just overload the midfield, which creates more numbers for them and it makes it easier, I suppose, in a way to press with so many people. But what he's going to do in the finals, I honestly have no clue, but I am very much so looking forward to it.
The criticism that can be levelled at Pep at times, particularly over the last few years where they've come up short in Europe, is that he can sometimes overthink these big games, that actually he comes up with such a convoluted tactical system that actually the players aren't used to it, they haven't played it in previous games, and maybe they're not at the level they want to be. Do you think he just sticks with that false nine and he goes with Cancelo in that position where he's excelled for so much of the season, but actually maybe Cancelo's had a bit of a dip over the last few weeks?
I'm not sure whether I would say he would go with Cancelo, but I think the game against PSG proved that he may be not in that overthinking situation. He played a system that the team know and that the fans know, and it's worked for him. So I can't see him changing much. The only thing I see that might change, this is wishful thinking as well, is that after Aguero's sub-appearance with the quality of these 2 goals, that he has a number 9 that feels like he's got his goal-scoring boots back and he's thriving with confidence right now.
It is going to be Aguero's last ever game for Manchester City. You'd obviously left the club by the time he arrived, but you were on the pitch for his greatest ever moment. You were playing for Queen's Park Rangers the day he scored the goal.
Yeah, we was. I was, to be fair. That was like an emotional roller coaster, to be honest with you. Obviously supporting City, but my loyalties at the time were with QPR
and you're fighting for survival.
Yeah, at the time. So it was weird, and we went there with every intention to win, and we was winning until it took a wicked turn. And like Teddy said earlier in the show, is sometimes once teams get in that rhythm, you can't stop them, and that's exactly what happened on that day. It was just lucky that it worked out perfectly for both teams. And Man United didn't win the title, so I was happy with that as well.
So what were you like in the dressing room afterwards? There's a QPR celebration for survival, and then you dip into the Manchester City dressing room as well?
No, to be fair, I did get invited in, but I said it's not my celebration. But I did watch them lift the trophy at the end. I just went down the side of the tunnel, and watched them lift it and gave them a nice clap, because they deserved it that year.
There's an awful lot of love for Sergio Aguero, even from rival supporters. Is it fair to say, Shaun, that he's probably the most important player in the Premier League over the last decade?
If you go back to what he's done, I think me and my dad was talking about it the other day. He has to be in the top 3 of Premier League's all-time greatest goal scorers. He definitely is Man City's top, but just what he's done. Most strikers don't come into the Premier League and hit the ground running the way he did, and pretty much don't sign out the way he does for his last Premier League game. But you never really seen him play a full 20, 30 games. He's always had hamstring injuries and little niggles where he misses 2 or 3 games. But he's always challenged for the Golden Boot as well, apart from this year where he was sidelined for most of it, for whatever the reasons were. But even when he came on in a game against Everton, the quality of these finishes just shows you he's still got so much to give to the game of football.
You can't leave us hanging there, Shaun, by saying you were chatting to your dad about your top 3 Premier League strikers without telling us who the top 3 were and where your dad was on the list.
You know what? He picked them, actually. Before this comes out, that I said it. For me, Thierry, and I think you have to say Alan Shearer as well. It would have been Dad until Aguero.
Oh, and did you say that to him?
Well, he picked that 3 anyway, so I'm just backing him up.
Okay. Denise, it is highly unlikely that Aguero will start on Saturday, because they have been going for these big games with De Bruyne in that false number 9 position. Does that actually get the best out of him, because he's picking up the ball in far more dangerous parts of the pitch? He's generally picking it up in and around the final third, where while he might have more influence deeper, actually he can be more dangerous further forward.
Yeah, I think De Bruyne will be dangerous no matter where he is on the pitch. I just think he's been excellent for Man City this season, and with Phil Foden there as well, next to him, create and play for him, I think they'll be excellent. And he's a young, promising player. His ability to get half-turned and dribble against players as well, and bring other players into the game. So I think no matter where he's going to be, he's going to make an impact on the field, and yeah, I'm excited to watch.
Talk about players turning. There's few at the moment in the Premier League, Denise, already as good as Phil Foden. His ability to just switch play, to look as though he's going to do that Manchester City thing and hold on to possession and maybe go with the short 5-yard pass, but actually just turn his body completely and be gone and show his pace. Like, what he's done over the last 6 months has just been exceptional.
Yeah, he's been 20 years old, going into a Champions League final day before his 21st birthday. It's really inspiring to see. And winning 3 Premier League titles already at that age, and honestly even getting into the starting lineup at Man City at that age is exceptional. And he has a lot to improve on, but he's absolutely fantastic, and he's a great player to watch.
Shaun isn't quite sure what Pep is going to do. Are you looking at it thinking it's going to be Foden on the left, Mahrez on the right, and De Bruyne as that false nine?
I think so, yeah. I think he'll go with that. I think the false nine is excellent for them. I think the two wide players will come inside, getting the ball and, dribble there. But I'm really excited for the game. And, yeah, it's going to be excellent. But Chelsea are a good side as well. They're more of a German quality side, I think, very organised in play. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, Shaun, on that qualities that Thomas Tuchel has brought to Chelsea, one of the things he has done is got N'Golo Kante back to his very best. And funny enough, both Lampard and Maurizio Sarri were criticised for the way they played N'Golo Kante, that they took him out of his, should we say, number 6 holding midfield role and moved him to the right-hand side. Like, Jorginho's still there in that number 6 role. It just seems that whatever Tuchel is doing with him, they're getting a lot more out of Kante now. What is it that he's doing with him?
It's like you said for me. He's playing closer to the role he was, which made him noticeable to pretty much the whole world. He's gone from being the Makelele role to the Kante role now. He's the best at it, so why would anybody want to move him from there? But the only thing I say is if it's going to be different for him against Man City, especially if Kevin De Bruyne plays as a false nine, because he can't then worry about what's in front of him. He has to worry about what's behind him. And Kevin's the type of player that he could be playing that false nine, but you'll see him out on the left, you'll see him out on the right. And if Kante goes with him, then it opens up a lot of spaces for Man City. And that's what they like to do, is pull people around.
So how do you see that working in midfield then, Shaun, from a Chelsea point of view, with De Bruyne dropping deep? Does Jorginho just sit on him, or is De Bruyne maybe going to try and target Kante to negate his influence?
For me, they have to hold their positions. They have to worry about themselves and pick up the players that are in their areas. I think as soon as they start going man-to-man, City move the ball way too quickly. And like Denise said, they have players that can turn on a sixpence. So if you're half a second late and the ball gets to a Phil Foden, he can turn you, and you'll start getting players booked, or he pulls away from you. And then it causes problems because one of the back three have to step out. And that's when acute passes start getting picked out.
It's interesting you mentioned Makelele and Essien there. Like, it does feel as though Kante's sort of turned into both of them this season. He can do both their jobs.
Yeah, he definitely has, because Claude couldn't shoot to save his life. So he's definitely taken that over. But Claude would say it himself. He's made that role his own. He's everywhere. He does the defensive role, but he still manages to tackle the left back and get back and tackle the attacking midfielder. He's got so much energy, and he was doing that through Ramadan, where he's not eating. And imagine what he's like once he has his full strength with him. It's unreal what he does. He's an unbelievable player. Yeah,
it is absolutely remarkable. Denise, on the Kante role then, because City have so many dangerous players, we touched on the front three, but you also then have potentially Bernardo Silva, Ilkay Gundogan playing alongside Rodri in midfield. Do you expect to see Kante in a far more defensive role, maybe more alongside Jorginho than more of a number 8, a box-to-box?
Yeah, I think he'll be defensively organised sitting there. But Kante has been absolutely fantastic for Chelsea. So very simple on the ball, but his defensive work is second to none. As Shaun said, he'll just have to, sit there, protect that space. And I think that's his job at first, is to defend, and then he can attack after that once they get more comfortable.
They have their own exciting young talent as well, Chelsea, Denise, in Mason Mount, who was in this peculiar position when Tuchel came in. He left him out for the first game, and there was a feeling he was Frank Lampard's boy, and maybe he was been overrated because of that. He's become a key cog in this side. I still watch him and wonder, where's his best position? And maybe it is more modern football, that everybody's allowed go a little bit of everywhere and there's more expected of them. How do you get the most out of Mason Mount?
Honestly, I see him as an attacking midfielder, a box-to-box player. He's absolutely excellent in getting into space, getting on the half turn again, dribbling at players and pass and move combinations, combining with his teammates, and then being able to get the shot off as well. He's a great striker of a ball. So for me, I think attacking midfield is his position.
Teddy, unfortunately, has had some technical difficulties. Internet has gone on the blink. We had lots of good questions for him, but unfortunately, they'll have to wait for another time. Maybe he just didn't want to be reminded of some of the derbies he played in. Dermot Looking has been in touch. A question for you, Shaun. Shawnee, right. Where does your goal in the derby in March 2004 rank in your favourites? It was a brilliant end to the game.
In my top three. Mainly because it was against Man United. It's about third in my top three.
All right, just so we're clear, every time you say you have a top three, I want the full top three.
Right, so my first one would have to be my first ever goal against Millwall at the Den, because obviously our fans were banned from the Den because they were always fighting each other, so they got disciplinary action where they couldn't travel. So we was all laughing and joking about it, and we all said as a team, it would be so weird if your first goal came when there was like no crowd. So that goal for me, because it's one of my most important goals, and it kind of set me up to carry on scoring in a way that one goes first for me.
How did you celebrate? And with no fans there?
A few of the players went and jumped in the seats and sat down.
Really?
Yeah. So you could get away with a lot more back then. But
you didn't give the ears to the Millwall supporters, did you?
No. And the second one was against Arsenal at Highbury, because when I was breaking through, there was a lot of times Joe Rowe used to bring me on the pitch when we was like 4 or 5-0 down, and it was basically to just get me used to playing, but in my head, I wanted to come on and affect the game, and I never actually had the chance then. So to be able to score at Highbury, knowing that my dad's in the crowd, and leave Highbury and draw 1-1, it was another important goal in my career.
Was that 25 yards out, you smashed it into the top corner?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a nice goal. That was a nice finish, all right. Would you have been at Highbury a lot then as a kid? Were you know, when we see the end of season videos and the kids are all on the pitch running down to the goal, scoring goals, was that you?
No, I definitely weren't one of those, but I was there a lot, yeah. When George Graham was manager, I was there a lot.
Yeah. We also have a question from Peter Scully for both Shaun and Denise. Who is the Manchester City player that Chelsea would love to have in their team, and vice versa? Denise, you go first. What Manchester City player would Chelsea love to have in their team?
I'm going to say Phil Foden. Young player, exciting player, a lot to improve on, many years ahead of him. So he's got to be my player for sure. And
flip it over there, Shaun. What Chelsea player would Manchester City like to have?
Kevin De Bruyne.
No, the other way around. The other way around. City need to pick a Chelsea player.
Mason Mount. I think he plays a way that would suit Man City. He likes to press high. He likes passing and moving, and he works hard. So for me, with his qualities and his football IQ, I think he would fit into Man City pretty well.
The issue for Chelsea, one of them is in front of goal, and it'll be interesting to see what 11 Tuchel goes with as well. Timo Werner has 12 in 51 so far this season, Shaun, and he just can't buy a bit of luck, it seems, at the moment. Every match there feels like there's a couple of games that are disallowed, and like there was the handball where he's running off celebrating, and you know it's going to be disallowed. You're saying, what are you doing? Why are you celebrating? When a player is in that rut, like, it doesn't seem to affect his work rate in any way. Does Tuchel need to put his trust in him again, or do you just have to accept, actually, it's just not happening for this guy at the moment?
It's a hard one, because if he doesn't put his trust in him, he could lose his confidence altogether. Now, he always does the hardest part, and that's getting in those positions to actually score. For somebody that came from scoring goals, you would see scoring goals to him a bit easier than that. But he seems to find it a little bit tough. But for me, I think I would always play him off the left. I think Tuchel will go into this game playing Kai Havertz if he's fit as the false nine, because it's worked for them, and it worked well with Werner coming from deep, to be honest. But like you said, you need goals, and when you got Jorginho, I think joint top goal scorer on 7 goals, and they're all from penalties, it's a big problem.
It is going to be a big call for Tuchel, Denise, as to what he does with Werner. Do you look at Werner and think a little bit of luck and he's the player who can, score them 20 Premier League goals next season? Or are there parts of the game that suggest actually, while he has qualities, they probably will need somebody else next season?
Yeah, you can see from the past few years what he has done in his career. He's an excellent player. He scored a lot of goals. So I think just that bit of confidence and keep believing in him, I think it will come from. As Shaun said, he's getting in those goal-scoring opportunities. It's just now about putting the ball in the back of the net. So I think if you keep believing in him and, get his confidence up, he'll score a few.
Shaun, right at the outset, you mentioned João Cancelo and that change after the draw against West Brom for City, where they changed tactics, different style of play, and Cancelo suddenly became the most interesting player in the Premier League, playing as a right back and a central midfielder all in one. I mentioned that maybe he's had a bit of a dip over the last few weeks. Do you think Cancelo plays, or is Kyle Walker in the sort of form where actually Walker plays right back and Zinchenko gets in left back, or do you see a place in the team for Cancelo?
Depending on how he plays, I feel like a player like Cancelo, there's always a place, because he's almost like a quarterback. Somehow he's the most comfortablest right back I've ever seen in centre midfield. With nice feet, he goes past people like an attacker, and he passes the ball into the box like an attacking midfielder. So there will be a space for him. But tactically, if I was, say, in Pep's head, the way Chelsea play with Werner on the left, I for me, would definitely play Walker, because he's as quick as him and as strong as him. And I feel like if you can nullify Werner, that's pretty much 60% of Chelsea's counter-attack gone. And then it's just a matter of whoever plays holding midfielder, whether it's Rodri or Foden, to keep Mason Mount quiet. And then I think as long as City keep winning the ball back off their counter-attack and keep the pressure on Chelsea, the chances will come.
Yeah, it's funny, Denise, the right back position is suddenly one of the most interesting selections in this Manchester City team because of what João Cancelo has shown he can do this season.
Yeah, it is. He's a great player, but as Shaun said, I would definitely play Walker. I think he's an excellent, strong, quick player, getting down that side, balls in the box. Yeah, for me, I would go with him.
Shaun, you obviously still spend a bit of time around Manchester City, and your son was playing with City's academy at one stage as well. What's been the vibe like over the last few seasons around Pep Guardiola and the tactical level he has, the quality of the training at City? What are you hearing back?
How much he demands off his players. He demands off himself exactly what he demands off his player. He wants an elite and a high performance in everything that they all do, whether it's watching what the clips that he gives you. He wants your focus always to be on getting these right, because all they care about is winning. They never think about 3 games before. They always solely think about the game coming up now. We have to win and just keep winning. And I think he's breeded such a winning mentality into this team, and even the youth team, to the point they were playing without a crowd and it didn't even bother them. They just knew they was going onto the pitch to do a job, to play the way that people want to see, entertaining football. From a fan, as an attacker, I love watching them because you see nice interchanges. And Denise will tell you, you appreciate watching the way they move the ball around and the interchanging of positions and the chances they create. And that's just all down to Pep and the mentality he's got them in, to be exciting, entertaining, want to score goals, want to create chances. And that's all the way from the academy upwards. They all play the same. Hence why I think Phil Foden slipped into that team so easily, that he could play a number of positions. It starts way down, and that's something that has been built by that whole team.
You played under so many different coaches during your career, Shaun. Have you seen a transformation in coaching? Thinking back to, say, Sven-Goran Eriksson, and Kevin Keegan, Mourinho at that time. You obviously had people like Neil Warnock that you played under, through to actually you had a bit of time with Jesse Marsch, who's going to be the new Leipzig manager in New York as well, who does seem like one of those thoroughly modern coaches, maybe somewhat in the mould of a Thomas Tuchel. The
difference is now, compared to then, is it feels like they're wingers do not exist. It sounds weird. You never see like your wingers now getting to bylines and crossing the ball in or cutting it back or chipping it over. That is pretty much the right back's job. The wingers are always in tight in little pockets of area to link up play and 1-2s around the box so they're closer to goal. So in that aspect, it's changed a lot for wingers. But like I said, the football's always evolving, and Pep just seemed to evolve with it, and the players he has seem to move along with it. And his players are so long that he has 10 years of life out of the majority of these players. So they grow with him and the club as well.
You probably would have been perfect in this modern age then, Shaun, in that right back role, marauding forward, lots of time, lots of space in the opposition half.
No, I would have rather play up front and press the defenders rather than right back. I wouldn't say like I got sent off a few times. So I do like a tackle, but I wouldn't say my timing was perfect. So I'd rather stick to attacking than defending.
We do have a couple more questions in. One for Denise and Shaun from Kira Stanley. If you could relive any moment in your career, what would it be, Denise?
Probably my debut for the national team. I think it was so special. It was against the Wales national team. I was 17 years old. Scored 2 goals, got in the starting lineup. So that would definitely be a moment for sure.
And Shaun?
That's a great start to a national team, isn't it?
It was. It was the perfect start.
I don't know. I think for me, it would have to be the first time I came on the pitch for Man City as a youth kid, because through my career, I got let go from Nottingham Forest. They said I was too small, I wasn't good enough. Signed for Man City, and in like 2.5 years, I was travelling with the first team to Port Vale, and came on. The kit was too big for me. You couldn't even see my legs basically because they didn't have sizes. So everything was just massive. Short sleeve looked like long sleeve, and I came on. It was 1-0, and we ended up coming away from the game with a goal that I tried to claim. So just the importance of me coming on the pitch and helping change the game for my very first game in pretty much in men's football, I think I'd like to relive that moment.
We have one final question for you, Shaun, and it is about the Champions League, the semi-final 2007, Liverpool, Anfield, one of the tensest games of football I think I've ever watched. Did you put your name down for a penalty in the shootout that night? And also, who takes the best penalty in the family?
Right. So for me, I would always put my name forward. I wouldn't say I'm an excellent penalty taker, but I always want to be that person to help the team through. But at the end of the day, in the team that I was in, there's outstanding penalty takers, and obviously they got picked before me. Now, when you go back to family, Dad is by far the best penalty taker. When we was growing up, he had a goal in his back garden where he deliberately just had a penalty spot and a goal. And he just practiced these penalties all the time.
And were you the goalies?
No, he didn't want no goalies. He just practiced on hitting the inside of the post.
Right. Didn't want anyone saving him, maybe denting his confidence in any way. He just wanted that open goal, visualising the perfect finish every time.
It worked for him.
Hey, it certainly did. It certainly did. We better get some predictions then. I have a feeling I know which way Shaun is going to go with this. Denise, you are the absolute neutral voice. Chelsea, Manchester City, how are you calling it?
2-0 Man City.
Right. So
I like that.
Straightforward for City.
Mm-hmm.
Shaun, what do you think?
I honestly said 3-1, so I have to stick with it.
All right. Well, 2-1 would be a cracking game, which we all want in the Champions League final, that's for sure. I said we were giving away a signed Jadon Sancho jersey, which is, I think with the way maybe the summer goes for England, may just grow in value as the summer goes on. The winner is Andrew Horgan. Andrew was the one who asked the question about the penalty, so well done to you, Andrew. You're getting that signed Jadon Sancho jersey. This has been our exclusive OTB Sports UEFA Champions League final preview show in association with Pepsi Max. Pepsi are proud sponsors of the UEFA Champions League. Pepsi Max, maximum taste, no sugar, hashtag for the love of it. Denise, you're going to stay with us because we're going to chat about your career in just a moment. But Shaun, it's been brilliant to chat to you. Enjoy the game on Saturday. Are you getting to go?
Yeah, look, no, I could have, but I'd rather sit in a sports bar, have a few drinks. With COVID hanging around and stuff like that, I'll stay in England.
All right, Shaun, it's been a real pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for taking the time out.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Denise.
All right, stick with us. We'll talk to Denise O'Sullivan in just a moment.